Welcome back to another episode of the A-League Couch Critics. I'm Brad.
I'm Sogg.
And this week we're chatting about a popular topic in the A-League community that people like talking about. It's expansion.
Hot topic.
And I think we should probably clarify exactly what we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about Pro and Rel and Second Division. That's a debate for another day. We're just going to talk about if the A-League is going to commit to expansion in the future. We're going to talk about some of the places we'd like and probably think should get a team. Let's get straight into it.
Let's dive in.
I think for me, this is a topic I love talking about, expansion.
Passion.
I think this is where the A-League should go in the future. I'm more keen on expansion than probably a Second Division Pro and Rel. But in terms of the first team, that definitely deserves expansion.
Hang on, Brad. Before we get there, what do you think, just on this, how many teams do you actually think the A-League should go to? Should it be 14, 16? Should we go for 20? Should we do the America and just go 35, whatever, just put a team everywhere and make a mess?
Yeah, America is very different. Many more cities and a much bigger population, a lot more investors.
Yeah.
Definitely not 34. 20 might be a stretch right now. I think 16 would be a good amount. I think that gives it a nice home and away season. That's 15 games at home, 15 away, 30 games, and then I don't know what you want to do for your playoffs, whether it's all of them in the playoffs, who knows what they're going to do. But I think 16 would probably be a nice target for now.
Yeah, well, 16 means that there's room for 4 more teams once MacArthur comes into it. Yep. So you'd be looking 4 more bids. You could do that over the next 4 to 5 years, realistically. So, okay. Sorry. Now let's
that's fine.
Let's have a look at teams.
And that's
now.
Fine. And we're not going to consider, obviously the coronavirus pandemic might potentially shelve any ideas of expansion in a number of years, but we still want to talk about some markets that should be considered when expansion comes around again.
This is all best case scenario, desires.
Yeah. I think for me, I don't know about you, Sogg, but definitely for me, I think Canberra should be the number one. The number one, next time expansion comes around, Canberra has to have a team because they've been there several times. I think in the beginning when the A-League started, they probably tried to get a team. They missed out to the Wanderers about 8 years ago, and then they missed around the most recent expansion bidding. For me, having a team in the nation's capital is a must. And, remember we used to have the Cosmos, Canberra Cosmos. Probably have a team that's a bit better, well set up than the Cosmos. But to have a W League team and not an A-League team, I think's disappointing. And I think Canberra deserves it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the strong points they've got is they've got that women's team set up. And I don't know if they've done particularly well over the last few seasons, but at the start of the W League, the Canberra had a really good side and were really pushing and were showing some good crowds.
Yeah.
And so that's really good strength that, they've got a bit of a base to go off. And from that, they've actually got some supporters. They've got people linked in. Obviously, a men's team would take that to the next level.
Yeah.
But with everything with the Women's World Cup coming up and the women's team and the W League, getting a bit more exposure, that could be the perfect drive to get a Canberra A-League team and really make something there.
Yeah. And when we've had international football there for men's, the crowds have gone. We had the Asian Cup there. We had Iran vs Iraq, and they got 18,000.
It's a bit interesting actually that they're not included in the World Cup bid.
Yeah, it is a bit disappointing. But
that's again another thing. But the stadium, that's it. The stadium, the facility is there. They've got the history. Yeah. It's the nation's capital. I think people just from outside, I've seen a few on A-League Reddit. People are just kind of really confused as to why our capital city doesn't have an A-League team. And it is smaller, granted, than Sydney and Melbourne. But, it's
we can't have 15 teams in Melbourne and Sydney.
One thing is, it's cold.
Yeah.
Imagine... But, I mean, that's good. That's
good
for football.
Who cares? Who cares if it's cold? A lot of English players will be like, oh, well, same weather back home.
Yeah, and I mean...
Maybe a little bit warmer.
We're all used to playing winter football if we play on a Saturday.
Yeah. And it's not too far, for Sydney FC Wanderers. I mean, it's three hours down the highway. I mean...
Yeah.
For us guys living in the country, 3 hours is not that far to go somewhere. So,
away fans will make
nice
the
away
trip.
trip. Yeah.
Yep.
I just think it's set up, nice stadium, 25,000. I think it's almost 40 years old. I think there are chats down in Canberra that they do want to build a new stadium, but I think, it's a rectangle field. It's ready to go, I think. I think without a doubt, next time it comes around. And I think the Canberra A-League bid says if they were to do expansion next season, we are ready to go.
Yeah. I think it would be great, get some green back in the competition. We lost that when North Queensland left the comp.
We do have Western United.
I mean, do they count?
Well, we could talk
Are they
about
still going to be here? Who knows?
hopefully, but
Okay, well, next team on the list, and this one's definitely going to push a few buttons, I reckon, but it's a Wollongong south coast of New South Wales idea. They've been pretty big, and I reckon they were one of the closer bids in the last round of expansion because they've got such a big player base and they've got a great history of producing Socceroos players.
Yeah. I think the problem was the last time we had that A-League expansion, it wasn't what the FFA wanted for the ideal markets. It wasn't a big city, and Wollongong...
But they chose MacArthur and Western United.
Yeah, I know. But they're based in big cities in Melbourne, Sydney, and I think that's what they wanted because that's where all the viewership numbers were. But I'd love a Wollongong team. It would create a nice little trip for the Sydney FC, the Wanderers, Central Coast. Like, it's really not that far. And if we had a Canberra team, it's still not that far for them. And I think they've been very vocal, the Illawarra area, for having a team. I just think last time the whole bidding process there was a lot of dysfunctional stuff going on. I think their CEO pulled out in the lead up to the bid, and it wasn't really looking good. It didn't look like an organised bid, and I think that was something that probably held Wollongong back the last time they had the bid was being they need to be a bit more organised, because I definitely think Wollongong deserves a team. It's got the ground. It's got the history of the Wollongong Wolves.
Yeah.
They've been a successful team in the past.
Yeah, back in the NPL days.
They've attracted really good crowds in the FFA Cup. I think they played Sydney FC on a Tuesday night or something. Yeah, they got like 7,000.
I went to that game. Their Sydney FC's last game in the FFA Cup against the Wolves.
What were the crowd numbers like? Was it 50-50 or what was the
there was a
big
end of Sydney FC fans, but there was quite a few locals there. They've got to figure out how people get into the stadium. We're standing in lines for a while, but the ground, like it's quite good to watch football at.
It's right on the beach too.
You're close to the field. You've got the hill. We love a hill in A-League football. So I think they've got all the pieces. They just need to put it together. They need to get themselves together, and they could have a really interesting team. Maybe they're a good shout for a second division thing, but again, we'll talk about that later.
I'd love to see a Wollongong team. I just love to see expansion. I love to see different teams get in, especially this one, Tasmania. I think Tasmania is a very interesting one because there's no professional football codes down in Tasmania. The only team they've got are the Hobart Hurricanes and the Big Bash.
Yeah.
And they will be getting an NBL, a basketball team, in a few years. That was announced not too long ago. So, I don't know. I really like the concept of Tasmania getting in the A-League because it's got the biggest sport played down there, grassroots level, is football. And I think there would be this kind of this pride, this patriotism with Tasmanians saying, this is my team, and we've been neglected, especially by the AFL. The AFL have been really poor. Like, they take a lot of games to Hobart and to Launceston, but they don't put a team in there. Imagine Tasmanians seeing that GWS and Gold Coast got in ahead of them. They'd be spewing.
Yeah.
But if they did get an AFL team, they'd get around it. But I think the same with the A-League. I was watching the Bev Show. If you've ever seen the Bev Show out there, he's a Tasmanian lad that loves talking about sport. And in his weekly chat, people ask him questions. I said, what do you reckon, Tasmanian team? And he said basically the same thing. There's a big population of kids playing football down there. And there's a lot of people crying out for representation, that they don't have a team. They want a team, and it would be well supported. My problem is, it's an AFL state, so there's a lot of ovals, no rectangle stadiums.
They need a rectangle. I think too, like you're saying, there is no professional football code. So there's no rugby, there's no AFL team. They're about to get a basketball team kind of thing. If you could plant a football team in there and get the people on side, I reckon you'd have lifelong fans. You'd have people who went, the A-League chose us. Yeah. Let's take this on. I guess there's a bit of a battle. Do you go Hobart? Do you go Launceston?
Oh, you'd go Hobart. Hobart's a bigger population.
I think it'd be an interesting place. They've had a bid around for a while. I remember it used to be sponsored by the Mars Bar.
Right,
was
okay.
their sponsor for their bid way back when I think Gold Coast got in. But
yeah, Tasmania actually missed out on the most recent round of bidding. I think they were cut before the final one. A lot of people are angry. I'm like, yeah. But if you're Tasmanian, we'd love to hear from you because we tend to forget about Tasmania a fair bit. And I'd love to hear and maybe speak to a few Tasmanians about what you think about getting an A-League team and actually how well supported it is. Because I think a lot of people from outside Tasmania talk about how great it was. I actually want to hear what a Tasmanian thinks about it.
Yeah, get in touch. Okay, next one, and it's a second team idea. A second Brisbane team. Should it be Brisbane City, Brisbane Strikers, or a new entity?
Yeah.
This one's an interesting one because I think Brisbane's a big city, and I think the Raw, and people have talked about this a lot, particularly with the Raw, that people get behind the team when they're winning. So the good old days under Ange, they actually were getting decent crowds at Suncorp, but when the team's not doing well, I've been to a Sydney FC away game there. There was 4,000 people.
I think unless you're the Brisbane Broncos, you have to be successful to pull on a crowd. That's the understanding I get from people I've spoken to on the internet. And we've seen that with the Reds, the rugby union team in the past. They've pulled really good crowds when they were at their peak about 10 years ago, and now they struggle. And same with the Raw. I think they were doing quite well when they were successful, and now it's... I think it's probably picked up a bit with Robbie Fowler, but...
Well, he's gone now.
He's gone now. You basically have to be successful. And I think with the Brisbane team is, where would you base it? I'm not too familiar with Brisbane, but I think a new team would have to cling and represent an area. And I don't know if there's a hole in the market like there was for the Wanderers 8-9 years ago. The Wanderers worked so well because there was that distinct difference between East and West and that rivalry in Sydney. I don't know about Brisbane, if there's enough, north or south of the river. I don't know if there's such a distinct rivalry and difference in class in Brisbane.
I don't really know. And it's interesting, we've talked about it before, but Redlands, when Roar have taken their games there, it's looked really good, that small stadium. I don't know if Redlands is
Are you talking about Redcliffe?
Redcliffe.
That's Redlands.
I've got no idea.
There is an A-League team there, an NPL team, Redlands United, but I don't know where they're based.
Then Adelaide, I think.
Oh, well, okay.
Okay, Redcliffe. Small stadium. It worked really well. There was a lot of hype started around that, but I don't know if it's enough to.
And Redcliffe
is
about
team.
40 minutes north of the CBD, so I think the one-off game there or a couple games there a year is not bad.
Yeah.
Maybe potential A-League team there in Redcliffe, but that Moreton Bay area, I don't know if it's substantial to have an A-League team full time.
Yeah. So again, if you're from Brisbane or from that kind of South Queensland, because we know Gold Coast went bust, that probably had more to do with the fact that Clive Palmer doesn't know how to run a football club. And
it was my way or the highway with Clive. He's a businessman. How successful, I don't really know.
So, because Gold Coast still have that team in the NPL up in Queensland, could they make a comeback? Would that be a good move? They've got the stadiums there as well. Interesting one to talk about. So if you're from Queensland kind of area, let us know. Okay, we've
got a few more. We might try and be a bit quicker when we talk about them.
Yeah, okay.
Team 11. They missed out in the A-League last time expansion. What do you reckon?
So they're
the south east of Melbourne, Dandenong kind of area, I think.
I think they're a really good bid. I think they've got football people in control of the bid.
Yep.
They've got the football culture there. It's all ready to go. Maybe if they partner with somebody, I don't know. But I think it's a good bid. I'd love... Maybe it's a second division kind of thing. I don't know if we need another Melbourne team. But
yeah. I think they probably should have gone over Western United because they were clearly representing an area of that southeast Melbourne, and I think Western United is still a bit... I don't know who we're representing.
I think Western got it because of the stadium. That's
much
it.
Yeah.
So, I like Team 11. West Adelaide for you?
No, I don't think Adelaide needs a second team right now.
See, it's an interesting one. I really... Adelaide United have to be probably my second favourite team in the A-League behind, Sydney. I love what they do. They've brought some really great players to the league. I love Hindmarsh Stadium. I've never been there, but I want to go. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I reckon Adelaide is a fantastic footballing community. The NPL South Australia is really interesting. I like the idea. Again, I've got to be convinced though. You've got to show me why. Yeah, so I think...
Yeah, they can't just play out of High Marsh. They're going to have to pick another ground. Because I don't like this idea of ground sharing, because what does it bring to it? It's just another carbon copy of the same team playing the same ground. You want to represent that area. West Adelaide, of course.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, you're not a fan.
I'd love to one day, but I just don't think we're in the situation to have two Adelaide teams right now. Yeah. Maybe one day, but I don't think the market's there right now.
All right, let's skim this next one. People might not like this. South Melbourne. Yay or nay?
Why not? They've got a really good deal.
I didn't expect that.
I think they've got you want me to give my professional opinion? They've got a good deal with their stadium. They reckon they've got a lot of financial backers that would support them if they got in the A-League. So, if that's true and not BS, why not? But I think right now there's too many Melbourne teams.
Yeah.
Again. So,
in a few years, maybe.
Maybe in a few years' time. But probably right now. But I don't mind South Melbourne. I don't mind the idea.
The banter that would start in the league would be great.
Three Melbourne teams though wearing blue.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting
because everyone loves slagging off Melbourne, South Melbourne.
That's it. And I mean, if their claims are really true and they do have 6,000 fans turning up for NPL games, that's pretty cool. That's
I don't think they
Mariners
get
level.
that. I don't think they get that many.
Yeah, I don't think they do. I think they might
do quite well. I probably got 1,000, but
they got potential. But as well, I like that they're not in because it just creates memes. It just keeps the fire burning.
Oh yeah, no, I love it. It'd be good. Everyone hate them. Yeah.
All right, next one.
Second New Zealand team.
I like it. If we're keeping the Knicks around, I reckon.
Yeah, if you keep the Knicks around, sure. But where are you going to base it? Because I think Auckland's had it before. They failed. Would you go back again?
Yeah, give it a crack.
We had the Football Kings who became the New Zealand Knights, and they failed in the past. So, would you go to Auckland? Would you go to Christchurch? Where would you go? Because I think it's either Christchurch or Auckland, and Auckland's the biggest city in New Zealand. So,
yeah,
I'd probably lean if it was going to be there. But
yeah, okay. So, yeah. I think it could be a good second New Zealand. Yeah. We've got another Melbourne team. Geelong. I'm just going to say no.
Geelong's not Melbourne, man. It's like saying Newcastle is Sydney.
Geelong is definitely Melbourne. If Western United are pretty much saying themselves as Melbourne...
Oh, they're not. Western United are not Melbourne. But Geelong is like an hour and a half from Melbourne.
Yeah, it's...
It's like saying, Newcastle is basically Sydney.
Nah, I think it's crowding in
there you go. An hour to Melbourne.
Nah, I'm just saying no. Too much AFL, whatever. I don't like
I think this is where Western United should have been based. Western United should have just picked one spot and be based, whether it be Geelong or Western Melbourne should have just picked one spot. And Melbourne Victory took some games to Geelong, got some good crowds, but the chance of Geelong getting its own team is well past it thanks to Western United, unless Western United want to embrace it. It's a no from me.
Yeah.
But Geelong is definitely not Melbourne, but no team for me.
All right, next, we've chatted about the Gold Coast. I reckon it's potential, but what about North Queensland? Should they get back? They're building a new stadium. Yeah,
they've got, the new stadium, whatever the sponsorship name is, who cares? It's North Queensland Stadium. It's actually in the CBD, which the other one wasn't. Dairy Farmers or Willows or whatever. Yeah. It was out in the suburbs. So this one's in the centre of town. Nice new stadium. Not sure if it's got to get a team because when the old Fury founded, it was like a community one that was in the NPL and that was well backed. I think it's folded now since, which is a real bummer.
There's still a North Queensland Fury.
I thought they folded.
I thought they were still kicking.
Who knows? Anyway, once I'm not sure because it's been somewhere where it's failed and I like to go to different areas. So that's why I'm a bit unsure about Gold Coast and North Queensland. It's just about being well set up because I think those bids last time were rushed. I think it was to do with the World Cup bid, and I'm not quite sure. And the same with this other one, Sunshine Coast. It's a booming area too. It's growing in population, but still, I'm not quite sure about Sunshine Coast.
I think I put all of these guys in the basket of, rather than second Brisbane team, just second Queensland team.
Yeah.
They've just got to pick one and go with it. But wherever they put
just
it.
go with it. what did I say? Fish where the fish are.
Yeah.
Don't try and like convert, because I think it's.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, try that. Of course, you want to get new fans to the game, but I think right now, in terms of expansion, you should be going where the fans are crying out for it.
Yeah. All right. Last one, and I reckon this is probably the best bid.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Central Western New South Wales, right?
Oh man, I love it.
The
If Bathurst had Bathurst Athletic was an A-League team, you know, I love it. I go to all the games, but maybe not right now. Maybe in 20, 30 years.
Sally's dreaming.
Yeah, I've had dreams, you know. I've picked out 2 spots for a stadium, you know. When our YouTube channel goes huge and we become billionaires and we can afford to buy some land
I don't
and
think
build a
many
stadium.
YouTubers are making billions.
Yeah, no, total joke. Would you like to see an A-League team where you're from? Have we missed a bid that you think really should be up there? Where should the next couple of A-League teams come from? Should we work on this, the Women's World Cup hype and get them in? Or is it going to crash and burn like the Men's World Cup bid teams? Or should we actually give it to who deserves it rather than who's going to build a stadium? It's a hot topic. We need more teams. Obviously, we need to build up this league before we start thinking about a second division, I think. 16 is ideal, so where are they going to come from? Brad, go on, give you, from our list, just pick 4.
Canberra, Wollongong, Tasmania, and South Melbourne.
Ooh, interesting. I would say Canberra, Tasmania. I'm going to say Gold Coast again, and West Adelaide. We didn't even chuck into Perth there. Nah.
Maybe
forget
one
about
day,
it.
but not right now. What about Darwin? Or Alice Springs? Cairns?
You know, that could be interesting. We'll have to see. But yeah, it's been a long video talking about A-League expansion. If you've liked this, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Tell us what you think. Yeah. And until next week, see you later.
See ya.